Precisely what is mesothelioma? Malignant mesothelioma is actually a rare type of cancer that happens in the thin layer regarding cells lining the body's bodily organs, known as the mesothelium. You can find 3 recognized types of mesothelioma. Pleural mesothelium is the most frequent form of the disease, accounting regarding roughly 70% of situations, and occurs in the lining in the lung known as the P.L.K.N. Peritoneal mesothelium occurs in the lining of the abdominal cavity, called the peritoneum, and pericardial mesothelium originates in the pericardium, which lines the heart. Someone may be at risk to develop mesothelium if he or she was exposed to asbestos friction material in the workplace or at home. Mesothelium is caused by exposure to asbestos friction material and the inhalation of asbestos friction material particles. In the most cases, mesothelium symptoms will not appear in someone exposed to asbestos until a long time after the exposure has took place. Those with a past asbestos friction material exposure history experiencing signs should consult a physician with experience in accurately diagnosing mesothelium. The earlier mesothelioma is clinically diagnosed, the more likely it is to be found at an early stage. At earlier levels of mesothelium progression, a lot more treatment options are available and quite often a better prognosis is given. Further mesothelium information and stats can be found in this section. Read reports of hope from mesothelium survivors as well. Mesothelioma remedy. Once an individual has been clinically diagnosed by a qualified mesothelioma medical doctor, the next step is to discuss mesothelium treatment options and to develop a treatment plan. Latest scientific research has produced considerable breakthroughs with regard to treatment practices for mesothelium patients, plus more options are now available for handling mesothelium and supporting increased quality of life. Newly diagnosed mesothelium patients often have many concerns for their doctors about the treatment plans that would be most effective for them. Standard treatment options for mesothelium contain surgery, radiation and chemotherapy. Just lately, chemotherapy drugs including Alimta-registered and cisplatin have demonstrated promising results in some individuals. Mesothelium clinical trials and also experimental treatments are other alternatives that certain mesothelium patients could be eligible to participate in. Our website features a comprehensive mesothelioma tumor treatment section that includes information and facts for patients and family members. We've included resources at the top mesothelium experts such as Dr. David Sugar Baker and Dr. Rafael Bueno, as well as a thorough list of cancer centers just where mesothelioma treatment takes place. Over and above the conventional treatments for mesothelioma, certain alternative therapies may possibly provide assistance to mesothelium individuals. Financial assistance is available to aid offset mesothelium treatment fees. We continually update it of our site as fresh mesothelium treatment information becomes available. Asbestos exposure and tumor. Asbestos exposure is the major cause of mesothelioma cancer. Inhaled or ingested asbestos fibers may cause an inflammation regarding internal tissue and affect organ function, which leads for the development of mesothelium. Asbestos goods were used extensively inside the 20th century throughout the USA, in a wide variety of applications. Asbestos friction material companies continued to produce the products even after they were known to be harmful to workers. These products have been responsible for asbestos exposure continual by the individuals who manufactured these as well as those who used these. Renovation and construction, the two at home and in schools, furthermore poses high-risk areas regarding exposure. People also may are already exposed to asbestos-contaminated talc inside baby powder. Many staff were put at risk from commercial and industrial places including refineries, power plant life, steel mills, auto generation facilities and large construction internet sites. Some of the occupations of staff at risk include electricians, plumbers, boiler makers, carpenters, mechanics, machinists and more. Additionally, if you existed with someone who was on a regular basis exposed to asbestos and laundered their clothes, you could be vulnerable for second-hand asbestos direct exposure. Veterans and mesothelioma. Despite the fact that rare, mesothelioma affects experienced from all branches regarding service, Army, Navy, USAF, Marines, and Coast Protect. As mesothelium has a very long latency period and can continue to be dormant for several decades, experienced who served our region from 1930 through 1980 are just now being clinically determined to have the disease. Navy veterans who also worked in Navy shipyards and/or served on our places' aircraft carriers, battleships, destroyers, submarines and warship coming from World War II through the Vietnam Warfare were exposed to high concentrations of MIT of deadly asbestos and therefore are at a high risk for developing asbestos-related cancer. Boiler rooms, power plant rooms, sleeping quarters, as well as other areas of naval vessels have been the most common areas where asbestos has been present. Some prominent shipyards where asbestos was common include Brooklyn Navy Lawn, Norfolk Navy Shipyard, Very Long Beach Naval Shipyard and also Hunters Point Naval Shipyard. Financial assistance and help together with VA benefits is available to be able to veterans diagnosed with mesothelioma. Mesothelioma legal help. Asbestos companies and distributors made any concerted effort to hide the hazards of asbestos from the community, while at the same time profiting heavily from your sale and manufacture regarding harmful asbestos products. These suffering from mesothelioma can search for compensation from the manufacturers regarding asbestos and asbestos-containing goods by hiring a competent mesothelioma lawyer. When deciding if you should pursue your protection under the law, you should think about the following about 3 things. First, asbestos companies had knowledge of the dangers regarding asbestos and knowingly set hardworking men and women at risk. Next, treatment for mesothelioma can be extremely expensive. Third, by doing exercises your legal rights, you can guard your loved ones in the future. Once you decide to pursue your privileges, a competent asbestos attorney may maximize recovery from the 2 viable and bankrupt asbestos friction material defendants. Over 65 asbestos friction material trusts have been established having billions of dollars combined around them. These asbestos rely-on funds have been set aside to aid compensate those workers who stay diagnosed with mesothelioma cancer or perhaps other asbestos-related diseases. The particular legal process to compensate mesothelioma victims is not overly problematic and should be strongly considered to help offset treatment fees and to provide financial security for loved ones.